Steve Jobs from Apple Computer. We're very glad to be here tonight.
What made them special? Every generation has people who become obsessed with something the rest of the world ignores. They look irrational, unbalanced, different, until suddenly, the world changes around them.
The future of Microsoft is in the hands of its programmers, and what they're programming are new computer applications like an innovative word processing program called Microsoft Word. But Microsoft's biggest push involves a new concept called Windows. Windows divides a computer's display screen any number of ways, allowing a user to look at several applications at once. Bill Gates is a computer whiz. He taught himself programming at the age of 13, was a dropout at Harvard, and started the company we've just described at the age of 19. Now 28. What are your annual revenues at Microsoft?
We're expecting to do just over $100 million this year.
At what age did you yourself become a millionaire?
Well, Microsoft's a company owned primarily by its employees, and it's not easy to put a value on it. Our first big contract was in 1975.
And you were, what, 20?
21.
Yeah. Are you kind of half telling me, though, that you're not in it for the money?
I don't think anyone at the company's in it for the money. It's a much more exciting field than trying to measure exactly how much we're selling or how much it's worth. The creation of these programs is something you can sit down and see people enjoying and solving real problems.
If you had stayed at Harvard a few more years, would this computer revolution have passed you by?
Perhaps. Things move very quickly in the industry, and it was really the urgency to get out there and be the first one to put a basic on the microcomputer that caused me to drop out.
You're called a genius, and well, no, I don't think that embarrassed you at all. They call you a genius.
The laugh, the smug look. Looking back, people think it was obvious or easy, but in reality it looked much different. The people who shape the future are rarely normal while they're building it. They saw the world differently before everyone else did.
When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it, you can influence it, you can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it. That's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just gonna live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it. I think that's very important. And however you learn that, once you learn it, you'll want to change life and make it better, because it's kind of messed up in a lot of ways. Once you learn that, you'll never be the same again.
To stand out, you can't think like everyone else. You need to train yourself to see problems, opportunities, and possibilities from a different angle. But seeing things differently is only the first step. Once you have an idea you truly believe in, you need the confidence to back yourself, the clarity to build a plan, and the obsession to keep going when most people would stop. The people who reach these positions, whether it's Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, or Jeff Bezos, make success feel inevitable. Not because it was guaranteed, but because their belief, urgency, and relentless desire pushed them beyond everyone else competing in the same space.
I also believe that today, where we sit, it's very hard to predict who those companies are going to be. So, you can make bets on these things, and I think that Amazon.com, if we're not one of those important, lasting companies born of the internet, we will have nobody to blame but ourselves, and that we will be extremely disappointed in ourselves. But there are no guarantees. It's very, very hard to predict. If you go back and look at the companies created by the PC revolution, in 1980, you probably wouldn't have predicted the 5 winners, the 5 biggest winners. There have been lots of winners, actually. So this space is a little different, and brand name may mean more, and there's some increasing returns kinds of things may mean more. But I believe that if you can focus obsessively enough on customer experience, selection, ease of use, low prices, more information to make purchase decisions with, if you can give customers all that, plus great customer service, and with our toys and electronics, we have a 30-day return policy. If you can do all of that, then I think you have a good chance, and that's what we're trying to do.
Another thing people often get wrong is assuming success comes down to luck. But most never put themselves in situations that could move them closer to their goals, expose them to new opportunities, or even spark the beginning of their journey. This is where self-awareness matters. You need to understand what you genuinely enjoy, how badly you actually want it, and whether you're willing to step outside your comfort zone to make it happen.
Now, I've actually always found something to be very true, which is most people don't get those experiences because they never ask. I've never found anybody that didn't want to help me if I asked them for help. I always call them up. I called up, this will date me, but I called up Bill Hewlett when I was 12 years old, and he lived in Palo Alto. His number was still in the phone book. And he answered the phone himself. He said, yes? He said, hi, I'm Steve Jobs. I'm 12 years old. I'm a student in high school, and I want to build a frequency counter. And I was wondering if you had any spare parts I could have. And he laughed, and he gave me the spare parts to build this frequency counter, and he gave me a job that summer in Hewlett-Packard, working on the assembly line, putting nuts and bolts together on frequency counters. He got me a job in the place that built them. And I was in heaven. And I've never found anyone who said no or hung up the phone when I called. I just asked. And when people ask me, I try to be as responsive, to pay that debt of gratitude back. Most people never pick up the phone and call. Most people never ask. And that's what separates sometimes the people that do things from the people that just dream about them. You gotta act. And you've got to be willing to fail. You've got to be willing to crash and burn, with people on the phone, with starting a company, with whatever. If you're afraid of failing, you won't get very far.
You're probably starting to see the pattern. These people don't wait for opportunity to appear. They create it. They're willing to ask, willing to be rejected, and willing to fail if it means getting one step closer. But that level of persistence only works if you actually care about what you're building. Because when the process gets long, difficult, and uncomfortable, and it will, talent alone won't carry you. There's one thing they all seem to agree on.
If you need inspiring words, don't do it.
So the thing is, when you want to build something great, it's not easy to do. And when you're doing something that's not easy to do, you're not always enjoying it. I don't love every day of my job. I don't think every day brings me joy, nor does joy have to be the definition of a good day. And every day I'm not happy. Every year I'm not happy about the company. But I love the company every single second. And so I think that what people misunderstand is somehow the best jobs are the one that brings you happiness all the time. I don't think that that's right. You have to suffer, you have to struggle, you have to endeavor, you have to do those hard things and work through it in order to really appreciate what you've done. And there are no such thing that are great that was easy to do. And so by definition, I would say, therefore, I wish upon you greatness, which by my way of saying it, I wish upon you plenty of pain and suffering. And so...
And that brings us to today. A lot of people look at the world and feel like they're too late. Like the biggest companies have already been built, the best ideas have already been taken, and the people who made it had access to opportunities we'll never get. But the truth is, every generation has its moment where the playing field changes. And right now, we're living through one of them. Because for the first time in a long time, the tools available to ordinary people are powerful enough to turn small ideas into real companies, real products, and real opportunities, faster than ever before. And if you don't believe me, later in this video I'll show you opportunities that are still sitting there untouched, along with ideas designed to get you thinking about what you could build. And if you already have an idea, but know you're not going to execute on it, leave it in the comments. Someone else might be able to take that vision and run with it, and you never know, one day they might look back and credit you as the person who sparked it.
Class of 2026. You are entering the world at an extraordinary moment. A new industry is being born. A new era of science and discovery is beginning. AI will accelerate the expansion of human knowledge and help solve problems once beyond our reach. We have the opportunity to close the technology divide and bring the power of computing and intelligence to billions of people for the very first time. To reindustrialize America and restore our capacity to build, and to help create a future more abundant, more capable, and more hopeful than the world you inherited. No generation has entered the world with more powerful tools or greater opportunities than you. We are all standing at the same starting line. This is your moment to help shape what comes next.
And this is why Jensen Huang's message matters so much. Because for a long time, people have looked at success like it belonged to someone else. Someone with more money, more connections, more experience, more time. But moments like this don't come around very often. There are certain points in history where the tools change so quickly that the people who move first don't need permission, status, or a perfect resume. They just need to see clearly enough to recognize what's changing and obsess hard enough to do something with it. Because right now, there are opportunities sitting everywhere, not vague ideas, real problems. Physical AI in construction, where machines don't need to look like humanoid robots to be useful. They just need to understand plans, measure distance, read angles, cut accurately, lift, position, fasten, and repeat with precision. Agriculture, where vision models could identify weeds across entire farms, treat only the areas that need it, save money on chemicals, and reduce the environmental impact of spraying everything. Factories and industrial sites, where AI agents could help understand machinery, generate digital twins, analyze ladder logic, maintain PLC programs, and make sense of operational systems most people never even think about. And beyond that, there are openings in aged care, mining, energy, logistics, compliance, trades, manufacturing, infrastructure, and every unglamorous industry that quietly keeps the world moving. That's the point. The future isn't only being built in Silicon Valley. It's being built on farms, on job sites, in factories, in control rooms, in workshops, and in the places most people overlook because they don't look futuristic yet. But that's usually where the biggest opportunities hide. So look around at the slow processes, wasted time, expensive mistakes, dangerous jobs, and repetitive work. Look at the industries still running on paper, spreadsheets, outdated software, and people holding entire systems together through experience alone. Those are not just problems, they are openings. And if one of those openings sparks an idea you know you'll never chase, don't let it disappear with you. Put it somewhere someone else can find it. Because sometimes the person who changes something is not the first person to see it. They're just the first person obsessive enough to act on it. But for the people who do want to execute, this is the moment to pay attention. Because as we've seen throughout this video, the future rarely belongs to the people who simply play the game correctly. It belongs to the ones obsessed enough to question the game entirely. The ones willing to think differently, ask when others stay silent, fail when others protect their ego, and keep building when most people stop. Because right now, while most people are scrolling past the future, a small number of people are building it. This is your moment to help shape what comes next. Be obsessive. Be different.